Hello and welcome to DCG's development update. My name is Balaj and we are here with the platform, the core and the mobile teams. We are planning this session for 60 minutes and we will have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. So please make sure you have a comment or question in the live comment section, live chat below. And also please make sure you use a Q or a question prefix so we will know that you are directing that question to us and to the Q&A session. All right, without further ado, let's jump right in and start with the platform team.
Yay! Okay, so we did a lot over the last 2 weeks. Lukasz was pretty much on TenderDash and SDK. I was on tokens. I asked Ivan for some advice, and also I think Ivan, you worked like maybe a day on tokens to help me out on something. But Ivan mostly worked on the SDK with Lukasz, and I mean also some improvements with Dashmate. Paul and Odysseus were on the Dash Evo tool, and Evgeny has been working on bidirectional references in GroveDB. We're going to start with TenderDash.
Yeah, hi. So basically, I did quite much work in terms of maintenance of TenderDash. Updated more than 20 dependencies or merged 20 PRs during the last 2 weeks. And we also got a bug report and we fixed that. It was an issue that if something goes wrong in process proposal, TenderDash didn't recover, right? So that's also already fixed. And we released TenderDash 1.4.0 and with two like DevOps level changes. Basically, Docker logs go to standard output right now. And we also removed unused database backends from TenderDash. That's why we did 1.4, not 1.3.3. No major changes other than this one since 1.3. So this release is not mandatory. You don't need to update at this point unless you will get into issues. It will just be part of next release. Okay, and on next slide, I also spent some time looking into CPU optimizations topic. So most likely starting with Dash Platform 1.8, we will enable requirement to have CPU supporting x86 64 v3 microarchitecture level. So basically there are a few CPUs listed on the screen, but you can also go to Wikipedia and check details there and to determine if your CPUs will be compatible. Most likely we will also have some backwards compatibility mode for the 1.8 image to be able to like fall back to it in case someone gets into trouble with their CPU and it doesn't work. So I see the 1.8 as like intermediate step before fully introducing that dependency. And yeah, I think that's it in terms of CPU optimizations, just as a head up for any master node owners out there to prepare for this. And on the next, yeah.
One thing, since we're splitting up 1.7 and what was going to be 1.8, so we'll actually go for 1.9. So we wanted to we wanted to give people 2 months to be able to upgrade. So generally this will hit, end of January or early February, whatever version comes then, basically.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's it on this topic. And in terms of the platform Rust SDK, we did work with Ivan on this in terms both some fixes improvements and some other future plans that Ivan will mention in a moment. But in terms of improvements and fixes, we did some improvement in the error handling. Basically, previously in some cases, so SDK has a mechanism to ban invalid servers. Some servers are just banned if they give wrong answer. For example, if they are stale and they are not on the most recent block. And starting with this work, starting from that work, we will just be able to ban these nodes automatically for 1 minute, so that I think 1 minute is the default time, so that SDK will not reach out to them. And to complete this feature, we also did some refactoring of state transition processing, so the way that we modify platform content, basically. So right now it's using some common code with retrial logic, with banning of failing nodes. So that all was done together, and it also involved some basically error handling improvements that we had to do. There is one PR in review that we should fix and merge pretty soon. It adds additional verification method to SDK to verify that the asset logs and asset logs are correct. Or maybe it's not full verification, but it's client-side verification to check what can be verified, and also with some information from the platform. And last is the ability to set custom certificate authority certificate. That's related to the process of issuing certificates. It's meant for non-production environments, like if someone will need local DevNet or testnet and doesn't want to configure real-world certificates, he might need this feature. It's like non-production feature, but also useful, I think, for developers mainly. And that's it on my side. Ivan, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I want. Hello, everyone. That's our stand-up usually ceremony. Okay, so Balázs, I think that's an old version of the slide. Could you reopen, please, the presentation, please? You're muted.
If there's any more silence that happens, I'm going to start singing.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
It was a bad
It just
idea.
crashed. Yeah,
Oh.
silence is a bad idea. Is it better?
Weird. It's not. Oh, it seems like I mixed up. The slides should be.
Okay.
It should be. Could you please open it once again? I just updated it.
This one?
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, let's start. We were thinking about. So first of all, our SDK is incomplete. We all know that there are some complaints about it. It's not something what we would like at this point to provide to developers to build on the platform. So we started to think about it from top to bottom, and It's kind of straightforward chain of thoughts, and from goal to solution is what we want. We want to increase usage of Dash platform, and it's not only the solution, it's one of the solutions. And related to SDK, we want to attract developers, right, to build the platform. And one of the ways how to do that is to, one of the main things what we need, what developers need is SDK, right? Next slide, please. And it should be simple and easy to learn. And then this familiar experience, development experience, what they already have using other tools, popular tools in the industry. The interface of this SDK must be convenient, and it should be self-explanatory. So you shouldn't, even without reading documentation, just writing code in your IDE, you should automatically get the answer to your question. So I'm talking about autocomplete and examples and documentation built into code of SDK. And one of the most important parts, what we recently discussed a lot, is the support for the multiple platforms. We're working right now on Rust version of it, but we keep in mind that the main goal also to support the browsers, namely that like supporting JavaScript and TypeScript as more native way as possible. We started to work on this with Lukasz, and we started with collecting requirements. So we defined use cases. So as who is the user and what he wants to do with this SDK. So we listed different types of applications what developer could use with different types of platforms. And now we have in a clear vision, it's about, I don't know, like 8 examples, but I think we covered the most. So now we're sure that we're not missing anything. So this is very important for SDK modularity, for platform support, and for integration with wallets. The next step was to collect some good ideas from the already existing SDKs, take them as inspiration, and we went through some ODM systems. It's like object document mapping SDKs like a Diesel and others. We went through the database SDKs for the popular blockchain and even through the competitors. Yeah, and now we have pretty good vision of how people doing things. So we want at least not worse, right? And we collected feedback from users of our SDK. Thank you very much, guys, who did that and left your feedback. That's very helpful. So we won't make the same mistake again if we did. And all these requirements, they will be base for the design process, what we started already. So now we're working on designing API, basically this convenient methods and helpers and structures what you will use to build your applications. This is in progress right now, and in the design stage we also going to think about how we integrate this with wallets on different platforms, what solutions will be, and of course the bindings. And they aiming first of all on the binding for browser. So it will be the TypeScript, and we will make sure that the SDK will be the modular. We'll look at the size and all these pain points, what you guys are worrying about, and we hear you. Thank you. Dashmate. There were some fixes recently, most of them incorporated in the recent release 1.6.2. There was a bug in the SSL verification process when you obtain new SSL certificate or you refresh or renew it. You could see that everything is done, but it was not actually the case. It was the problem is handling the automatic response from SSL. It seems they changed the API. So in this task, we adapted for new changes and made the process smoother. It was a bug also in status command. Dashmate status, it fails if drive is not running. This is solved. And we the last two is related to the new core 22, which will be released soon. The first one is fixed for DevNet, so we could get enough money to register master nodes in our deployment tool. And the last one is to update platform to the new version 22. The breaking changes affects only the local development network. So that was fixed. Thank you. Paul from development.
Hello, guys. Yeah, so I've been working with Odie on Dash Evo tool the past 2 weeks. The first week was like a lot of cleaning up. There were some bugs and stuff. And we addressed a bunch of issues. We like closed half of the issues on GitHub. So yeah, that was like the first week. And then we also added some extra features that we're going to be releasing in V0.6 tomorrow. Let's see, for example, showing locked votes in past contests. So that was requested by Splawik. What I've just been working on the past few days is scheduling votes to be cast later. So there's some masternode owners who want to like keep anonymity by not casting all their votes at once. So basically added something so they can schedule their votes to be cast later. Thank you, masternode owners, for actively voting. And you know, that's good for the integrity of DPNS and Dash platform in general. What else? Show version and top panel. That was requested by a few people. Refresh owned names. Some people pointed out a bug that they would win a contested name and it wouldn't show up in their own names. There was a bug there, so that will be fixed. And top ups, you can do a custom amount instead of just 0.5 dash now. For V0.7, there's still more cleaning up to do. There's still some more bugs and stuff. And also Odie added a feature to update the payout address of masternodes. And we're just in the process of testing that. So we'll probably include it in the next release. And yeah, I'm going to do a quick demo if it's all right. So I'll share my screen. This is partially for Sam because he was one of the people who kept asking me to do this vote scheduling. So I just want to show how it works. And yes, we were having an issue about 20 minutes ago with it, but I fixed it. I was able to load some more master nodes to vote with. So this is on testnet, and like an hour ago, I registered this name, A10. So normally if you want to vote, you can like click here. If you want to vote to lock this name, you can click here and it will show you who you can vote with, like what master nodes, or you can select all. So whichever one you select, it will then ask you to, if you'd like to vote now or schedule the votes. So you can click schedule here. If you want, so then you have your 2 master nodes, and you can schedule a vote or not vote at all. So we can see that this name contest ends in an hour. So I'll just schedule this one to vote minute 0 for now, and this one in 2 minutes, schedule votes. And then you can go to scheduled votes screen, which is here. Active contests, past contests, my username's scheduled votes. And we see here, yeah, it's a like interface where you can see your scheduled votes basically. In the back, basically it checks every 1 minute to see if like a vote is needed to be cast. So before this hits 1 minute, we should see this pending change to casting. And then when it's casted, it will say completed. Or if you just want to cast now, you can click cast now. So hopefully this, okay, there we go, casting and casted. And then we can verify here on the testnet explorer that it casted.
Yeah. The point of this is basically like if you have multiple Evo nodes, you can defer them. So you can cast all of them from one of your Evo nodes and then like an hour late, all your votes from a second one, and without having to like do a very manual process. However, in your active contest, did you do the feature where you just like shift click on the thing you want to vote for to go faster?
Oh no.
Okay, well, because I think like, yeah, otherwise you have to, it's too like, you want to do things really quick, right? You want to just be like, okay, I want this.
Oh yeah, okay, more work.
Yeah, see, I'm a slave driver. We all know it.
Yeah.
Work
But
harder. Why is
that
the
is a
feature
good
not
idea.
done yet? Paul, why isn't it done yet? You have 1 hour. Okay, excellent.
I think it is done now, so.
Excellent.
All right.
Well, thanks, Paul. That was great.
Thank you.
Did you cover Odysseus, or Odysseus, do you want to add anything?
Hi. So no, it was covered by Paul. Plus, we will. I think we will. 0.7 will be a signed package. I don't think we will have it for tomorrow's release. And also, I resumed work for State Sync, so it's not Dash Evo tool. So for the next couple of weeks and maybe more, I'm gonna focus on that so that it will be out.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's great. Okay, let's move on to GroveDB and Evgeny.
Hello. Yes, it's Evgeny, and if anyone's wondering, the same Evgeny with a lowercase e that goes on the vote right now for a name, just in case.
Oh, so wait. Which one are you? Are you by yourself?
Evgeny is Evgeny, just with a small e.
But is there more than one that's currently requesting it or not?
I didn't check, just
Okay.
advertising. So yeah, besides State Sync, I'm also here to shed some light what else going on GrooveDB. And yes, that's bidirectional references you can see on the slide. Well, we have actually plenty of nice features planned, but now we're occupied mostly with it. And it takes some time because it affects many parts of GrooveDB, and resource-wise, it could be even worse. But we're refining now the feature design as we go further with development. So it's kind of a research task at the same time. So now it seems that proof system will be unaffected, as well as no updates to subtrees library is needed. And storage costs are determined as well. So the dev solved plenty of problems, I think, with our communication is the key. So that's some good news to get closer to the point of completion. And meanwhile, we did several prerequisites working, including cache structure for in-memory subtrees, like for write operations, because it is required for atomicity. It's a bit getting technical. And also did many updates to path library and reference related code. So with all that said, our goal is not to break what works actually. And so we're moving cautious. Yeah, that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thanks, Evgeny.
Thanks, Evgeny.
Cool. Okay, it's
Oh.
my turn. I cannot share my camera because I am in the dark. I have no electricity, but I have a 5G connection, so you guys can hear me speak a little bit. If I cut off, that means my data has been used up. So I'll try to go quickly. Fungible tokens. They're in the works. And I'm going to kind of explain how they work, what we built so far, and how, when they'll kind of be ready and stuff like that. So get ready and let's go. So basically how they work is you register the token you want in your data contract, in your contract for now. So that means like, I just say, hey, I'd like this token. Let's call it Flurgons. I would like the Flurgon token, and I want to say that there are 1 million Flurgons as the initial supply, and there'll never be any more Flurgons. You can write that. And you can say that the token can be sent between identities. Tokens use sum trees. So, you always can see with a proof how many tokens are there, and you can verify that there's no disparity. If there's any disparity, the system will automatically halt. If there's any action that occurs on any token, it will verify that the root of the sum tree is equal to the amount that's supposed to be in the token, and the chain will halt if there's a disparity. Just like the chain will halt currently if there was a disparity in the amount of credits. So we really never want any inflationary bugs. Not in credits, not in Dash, not in tokens that are built on Evo. Yeah, tokens also can be used in your contract to buy and sell NFTs. So you can set your NFTs to be purchasable directly with the token that you register on the contract. This feature might not, it won't be in 1.8. It's probably going to be in 1.9. We're basically going to split up tokens into 1.8 and 1.9. So it's not going to be all at once. Yeah, let's go to the next slide. So what you can do, you can define the initial supply. You can define the max supply if you want. You can say like, okay, the initial supply is 1 million and the max supply is 1 million. So no more can ever be created. And that's that. Like you basically make a contract with the people that are either purchasing your token or using your token that you're never going to increase. And the max supply can or cannot be changed. So you can write in your contract that you're never going to change the max supply and nobody can ever change the max supply. Done. There's also token conventions that you can write in. You can put the decimal places. You can say, should this token be capitalized in various languages, and the localizations, like the singular and plural of all the languages of their token. So for example, Flurgon in English, Flurgons would be the plural. I'll say it's capitalized in English. And in German, it's going to be Flurgezeit. Or I don't know what's that. Hope that's not an actual word. But yes, basically, that's what you could do. But in German, you could say there is no plural, or there's no plural in Chinese, and you can write the Chinese character and stuff like that. Not very, just kind of like more of a convention that you say in the contract to make it easier for people who use your token. You also can set the default destination of new tokens, but that's optional. You can basically say that all new tokens go to this identity, but you don't need to do that. You can put in the minting rules. You can put in the burning rules. Like for example, can new tokens be minted? Can ever new tokens be burned? Let's continue. Next slide. Can tokens be frozen? Yeah. So for example, if you check the Tether contract on pretty much on any chain where they have Tether, Tether can freeze any token balance that it wants. So I mean, if we want Tether, or if we want other stable coins like the big guys, we have to have the same functionality. So can tokens be frozen? You can write a contract that says no tokens can ever be frozen. Cool. Or you can write one that tokens can be frozen, and who can freeze a token. That's all inside the contract. Can identities be blacklisted from interacting with the contract at all? That's also possible. Who can change the minting, burning, freezing, blacklisting rules? So that's also inside there. Who can change the destination identity and the settings of the identity groups with the administration control. So these are basically, I checked to see what 90% or so of tokens use actually, and I incorporated them. And so like people can write tokens directly on platform with all the platform functionality, not using smart contracts, with about 90% of the features that currently exist in the token space. Now, what about that last 10%? Yeah, we'll need, we're not going to do the last 10% is quite rare stuff. If we receive a feature request, we can put them directly in, but most likely people that want that last 10% will have to wait for smart contracts. So 7 state transitions: minting, transfer, burning, freezing, unfreezing, blacklisting, and stop and start token transfers. So for example, a lot of stable coins can say stop, no more transfers can happen ever, and we're just pausing everything. They have that in their contracts. So I'm gonna guess if they would want to add their token to the thing to Evo, they would want that functionality as well. We're not going to put all the state transitions in the first version. We're just going to put minting, transfer, and burn, and then we're going to do the more advanced control a little bit later. Okay. And by the way, before we continue, people might be saying like 1.8, and why 1.8? It was supposed to be 1.7. We're actually going to be releasing a 1.7 most likely tomorrow. Tomorrow, Ivan? Right?
I hope so. It depends when Core 22 will be released. So let's see what Core guys will tell us today.
Yeah, so just the 1.7 literally just is the upgrade of version 22 of Core, but isn't really an Evo. I mean, it has a very few amount of things, but it's not a big Evo release. 1.8, it doesn't like move 1.8 away. It's just that we have to get something out so people can upgrade core. Okay. Let's move on. Yes, so another big feature, introducing groups. So groups, groups, I originally was not going to do groups. And thank you, Ivan. He came in and he was like, you should do groups. And I was like, what a wonderful idea. So we are doing groups. It's actually, it's very powerful. So basically groups are added to contracts, and groups allow for multi-party control over an action. Actually, I had like groups as well, but I didn't call them groups. I basically just said, okay, these different people can do these different actions. And Ivan was like, yeah, these are groups. So, and now this basically says like, okay, if you want to say that 2 out of 3 admins need to be in agreement to mint new tokens, you can do that. You can give weight power to individuals in the group. So you could say, for example, like, yeah, if you want 2/3 of any 5 admins or the CEO to approve an action, that can be done. So you can say something like, I don't know, only the CEO can change the rules of the system, but you need 7 out of 9 people to do any action. I mean, it's basically and 2 of those people count double. Like that, all of that is possible in the system. So it's actually really strong. Let's move on. Yeah, so groups effectively add multi-sig capabilities to the system. That was a requirement, I think, for Tether that Joel talked about. And group actions are contained directly on the platform chain, so there's no need for complex multi-sig off-chain systems. It's directly inside. So individual identities say, I want to do that action, and other identities say, I want to do that action. And when you have enough of them, according to the contract that say that, the action just happens. Yeah. When the action, yeah, so it will execute. Identity, yeah, and you can also put in an expiration date. So you can say like, oh, I'm approve this action, but I only approve it for the next 24 hours. If the other people are not on board at that by that time, then my vote, expires. So for right now, groups will be only on tokens, not for like all state transitions, because yeah, we have to go, iteratively. But it adds a lot of power to tokens, and it's kind of a requested feature. Okay, cool. And I hope everybody enjoyed that. I'm working very hard on tokens right now and groups. I'm doing about 1,500 lines of code per day. Well, on most days. So I can't really say when everything will be done, but it's coming along extremely well and making a lot of progress. So we'll see.
40.
Well, actually, before I go on there, let me kind of add something. The state transitions have been written. The structure, the underlying drive structure has been written. The data contracts have been updated. So what hasn't been written? Oh, and groups have been added. So what hasn't happened? So we didn't add the multi-sig group parts. So we also haven't done the queries, and we haven't made sure that the whole system works coherently together. That all takes a lot of time. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Core team.
14.
Anybody here from?
Again,
Monsieur Les Pattes?
Pasta. If you are talking, you are on mute.
Oh, he's
Okay.
connecting the audio right now.
Pasta, can you hear us?
Oh, that's not good.
No, he is in the call.
Yeah, we
Hello.
see him. We see him, but
We see him in the call.
oh, he's saying in chat. Okay, okay, Pasta. Do you want me to be your voice and you type out? Or do you want to try to get your audio working?
Okay. Or next time you train an LLM to present. Hey, oh,
Oh, no. False alarm.
Do you want to maybe skip to mobile and give them a few minutes? Or a
Yeah,
minute or two?
yeah, that's
All right. My video on. All right. So lots of work on well, on both platforms, but Android in particular, we're in this stage now where I won't say firefighting, but there's certainly a lot of new a lot of new kind of bugs that we have to deal with pertaining to Dash Pay or coin join mixing in particular has raised a lot of it's created some side effects that we didn't expect with the volume of transactions that we're dealing with. So a lot of investigatory work. We did finish the system contract that should go out in the next platform release, I believe. And then there was a couple different instances where the sync was getting stuck at a certain percentage. This was one of them. We're still dealing with another one that should have a fix out soon. An issue with recovering in the middle of a username request, and we had a decent amount of feedback from the community and from Masternode owners that we've been working on, either UI improvements or just some mostly minor bugs. There were some complicated ANRs, application not responding issues, that we're still kind of dealing with, but we've addressed at least some of them. And we did not yet get to the changes needed to invitations for username voting. The focus has been primarily on bug fixes and performance and syncing related issues. That will be the next kind of feature that goes out, though, is the invitations. And as I mentioned, the mixing has created a lot of various different types of issues depending on the device and depending on the amount of mixing that the individual is doing. But heavy mixers, basically, we're dealing with a couple different individuals that do a lot of heavy mixing and have been doing it since our beta. And those are some of the areas that we've been focusing on, even though they're not widespread yet. The understanding is that ultimately these issues will come up with most users that are mixing over some period of time. So that's where the priority really has been, is fixing some of these things. Small issue on removing a masternode key that was done, and as I mentioned, we got a lot of good feedback from masternode owners on username voting. So those things should come out in our next release as well. So that's Android. On iOS, couldn't get a ton of stuff across the finish line, but we did get a lot of things pretty close. They ended the sprint in review. The Dash Sync related work, the contracts, document requests, and identity sync, those were still in to do. We've made more progress on identity sync, but that's still being worked on as kind of a blocker to some of the other things, to getting Dash Pay up and running. Some UI improvements, for CoinJoin on the status indicator or progress indicator. And again, just as with Android, we're still trying to get CoinJoin stable with some better performance to get that out into our first beta. Another element to kind of help with performance on the home screen is combining mixing transactions. That's just a UI related item where instead of seeing hundreds of mixing transactions on the homepage, it'll combine them all and only show kind of one per day. And then work continued on the UI for contested usernames. That's just about done. So once DashPay is up, we should be able to hopefully get it into the back end. As a small change to the crowd node dynamic fees was also sent to review. So that's iOS and Android. We are expecting kind of multiple point releases for Android throughout the month, dealing with either kind of improved UI or bug fixes. Still, hoping we'll get that beta out for balance mixing on iOS in December, but we just want to make sure it's more stable. I mean, given the experiences we've had with Android, we want to make sure that we're kind of buttoning down things before we get it out to the broader community. So that's the reasoning behind delaying that release. That's it for mobile.
All right, thank you very much.
Can you hear me now?
Awesome. Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome.
Awesome that you are here. Let me reshare the screen and get back to the core slides. 1 second.
Right. Well, in the meantime, I think I'm just gonna get going here. So I'm gonna start out with a tiny little sob story. Yesterday, I had some issues with my MacBook. Ended up just hard crashing on me, and opened it up and found some corrosion on the main logic board. So I'm having to work on my secondary system, and that's causing not necessarily some issues because everything is properly backed up and everything, and it's just making everything take more time than I was hoping it would, and everything is slower, and I need to add new SSH keys in places and stuff like that. So I'm hoping that my primary system isn't completely screwed. I've been able to get it to turn back on here and there after cleaning up corrosion, but it's not stable yet. So I'm concerned, but hopefully we'll be able to get that figured out. But this is a reminder to everyone, please, for the love of God, have good backups, and preferably have like copies of your GPG keys and stuff like that on a YubiKey or something like that. Use hardware wallets, use, good proper backup systems, and don't just rely on your system, because I would be 10 times more stressed if everything was just on there and I didn't have good backup. So please do that, and pray for my computer. Anyway, so I was hoping that V22 would be released right now. Due to these issues, it is hyper close. So I expect today, within probably a couple of hours, I'll be able to press the big green button on GitHub and get that properly pushed out. But at the moment, I'm just kind of going to assume that it is released and talk about it. V22 is a very nice release. A lot of commits, a lot of backports, a lot of good improvements. Some of the biggest things that I want to talk about pretty quickly. One is I like the pace. It's about 4.5 months since V21. That's a pretty solid pace. Historically, 6 months has kind of been the target, and then it normally pushes out towards 7 or 8 months sometimes. The past year and a half or so, I've really been trying to focus a little bit more on having nice and timely releases, and making sure we're shipping stuff as soon as we prudently can. And I think we did that with V22. About 4.5 months is today since V21. And main things we're bringing here, we're increasing obviously the amount that you can unlock from platform per day up to 2,000 dash. It was previously around 1,000 dash. The other biggest thing that I'm really excited about is BIP 324. So that is a version 2 P2P protocol. It enables encryption on the P2P stack. And so that makes it so much harder for any kind of traffic analysis or anything like that to happen. And right now that's experimental. It's not enabled if you just download version 22. you have to opt into it. However, we're using it on testnet. We are actively testing it. We're actively deploying it ourselves. And I expect in the next version that this will be enabled by default. So I want to talk about it because all the work's been done. Now it's just we want to be sure that we're testing it robustly. So, if you want, you can enable that on your mouse node and report if you see any issues. But we're really, really excited about that. That's going to be something that's coming out in one of the next minor or major releases, hopefully in the next minor release. And getting that enabled by default will be very, very cool. Compressed headers also got improved. You can now download up to 8,000 compressed headers per single request. This generally helps speed up header sync if you have a very fast system. On slower systems, it doesn't make a huge difference, but it can actually generally improve it. It's just generally a little bit more efficient. It gives us more data to kind of compress on, which is valuable. But yeah, that was a nice little improvement. Helps reduce some of the bandwidth and kind of number of requests needed. The next huge thing is, well, at least huge in my opinion. Most people probably won't care about it, but the handling of DSQ messages is changed in the new protocol version. And right now, I was hoping to actually show some of this with a demo, but due to my current kind of computer system, I won't be able to. But right now, a lot of the P2P messages that are happening on the network are the DSQ messages, and that's because we just push them out to every peer that we're connected to. And that creates just a lot of wasted bandwidth. So now they're using the inventory system like basically everything else. I'm not sure if at the time that DSQ was originally implemented, if we didn't have the inventory system really yet, or if it was just so locked down where it was only really transactions that went over the inventory system at that time. But over the years, we've kind of refactored that and improved that. And there's no reason now that it shouldn't be going over the inventory system. So that is a change. If you go up to the next protocol version, you'll have to actively request DSQs. Of course, that's only important for wallet creators and stuff like that. A normal user doesn't have to do anything. This is just reducing the bandwidth requirements on Masternode significantly. I expect it's roughly, I don't have amazing data, but I expect it to be roughly cut in half the bandwidth usage just based on this change. That's how much wasted bandwidth there was with these DSQ messages. So the other really cool thing I want to talk about is improved onion and alternative network connectivity. So now we basically, if we have connectivity to a specific network type, we will always try to retain some connections on that network. Historically, even if you had the ability to communicate on onion services, your node just wouldn't, because there's a relatively low percentage of nodes that had onion connectivity. And so if you just connect to 10 nodes at random, the odds that you are connecting to someone over the onion network is very, very low. So now we basically bias that and say we always want to maintain IPv4 connections if we can. We always want to maintain IPv6 connections if we can. We always want to maintain onion connections if we can. That way we have a good diversity between network types. And this also helps to kind of just give better support for those non-IPv4 networks. So that's really cool. That's exciting to me, at least. We also didn't move away from GitLab CI, but we implemented GitHub Actions as well. This gives us a lot more kind of flexibility moving forward, whether we want to fully move over to GitHub Actions in the future. There are some downsides with GitHub Actions that we don't love compared to GitLab CI, but also the way that we're using GitLab CI is almost not supported. It's, I believe we're using some tooling that has, it's just not strictly supported by GitLab anymore, I don't believe. So there's been a concern for the past couple of years that someday GitLab might just break and we'll have to figure something out with that. So having this kind of duplication of CI has given us better guarantees about our CI will be functioning in one way or another, and we won't just have some massive issue at some point. And GitHub is also very generous with their, free CI for open source projects. So implementing GitHub Actions didn't cost us anything but some time to build it up. So significant backporting progress, like it shows at the top of the page. Over 15, almost 1,600 commits in v22. A lot of those are backports and backporting changes. A lot of refactoring, a lot of just optimization of code and that kind of thing, and a lot of just miscellaneous improvements and features to support platform here and there. Yeah, I think that's all that I wanted to talk about on. Well, no, a little bit more on v22 stuff. So I'll be releasing it. We'll be releasing it today. I have a couple small things that I need to wrap up with it, but I should be able to get that button pushed within a couple hours, I hope. After that happens, right, obviously this is a hard forking version. So what's going to happen is eventually, hopefully masternodes will upgrade. Once 85% or so of them upgrade, we will produce that EHF message, right? That EHF signals to the network and to miners that, okay, everything is like good to go. We have masternode adoption. Miners will upgrade and they will signal for the new version. And once sufficient miners signal, the hard fork will lock in, and then it will upgrade. It will actually activate the next week. So we will have a more detailed timeline, probably in 2 weeks. I was hoping to have a more detailed timeline today, but again, everything has taken me like 5 times longer than I hoped it would due to these issues that I had been experiencing with my computer. So I'll try to give a better timeline, maybe on Discord or something like that, and walk through it. There might also be something in an upcoming release announcement that has a better timeline. I expect around 3 to 4 weeks is generally the minimum time frame before we will see actual activation. That gives about a week or so for masternodes to upgrade, and then it will take at least 2 weeks for the actual hard forking process to happen. So about 3 weeks is the bare minimum that anything could ever possibly happen. Realistically, it's normally 4 through 6, maybe up to 8 weeks. So that's kind of what you can expect for v22 activation. But like I said, I hope to get some more detailed communication on that out in hopefully the release announcement or something like it. So looking forward, and what has been being worked on as we've been in the RC cycle for version 22. So Assume UTXO, this is something I've talked about a little bit before. It's really, really cool. It's not something that everyone should use because it is semi-trusted, but it's kind of as trusted as like checkpoints are right now. Like when you download Dash Core, we don't validate signatures in block 100, right? If you can set a flag and validate every single little signature, and make sure everything is proper. But we set in some kind of assume valid dates. This is something that every project does basically, because it's just kind of wasteful for everyone to compute all of the signatures for all of history. Obviously, we want people able to, but Assume UTXO takes this one step further, and you don't even have to walk the entire chain to build the UTXO set. There is just a kind of compiled in UTXO set at a certain height, and then you can just start from that height. So it's a little bit of extra like trust, so to speak, on the like binary that you're downloading, but ultimately anyone can validate that it is correct and it's very verifiable. So it's a really cool project. It would make it super duper quick to sync a new node. Like I said, in that like semi-trusted state. But very cool project. That is something kind of spearheaded by Bitcoin, but we are backporting that, and I'm kind of excited by it. So the next 2 things, C++20 and CMake adoption. These are mostly just developer-focused kind of improvements. C++20 brings a lot of new benefits for compile time support, like compile time code, const per code, a lot of new cool features. But those are 2 things that we're working on, and hopefully will get wrapped up at some point in the near-ish future. A lot of changes that were required to getting kind of CMake built in. CMake though has a lot better IDE support. We use auto tools right now. It's kind of the old man in the ecosystem. It's been around for forever, but it just doesn't have the IDE support that we kind of would like. CMake projects give a lot better IDE support, a lot better general debugging support. So we're moving towards that with both of those, just better developer experience and improved kind of productivity from that line. The next main thing that we're working on, we have a dip open right now. I don't remember the exact status of it. I think it's basically ready to get merged in. Talking about proof of service banning initiated via platform. So this will be for Evo nodes that aren't providing service on platform. Platform as kind of, a collective will be able to sign messages, like a platform quorum will be able to sign messages that say, this guy isn't participating, his certificate's out of date, he's not proposing any blocks, something like that. And they'll be able to sign a message to core that says, this guy's bad, we need him not to be in future quorums. And that message will get propagated on core, and the node will basically be excluded from the DKG process and will result in getting a proof of service ban. So yeah, this is an important part of like proof of service for a platform and making sure that people are actually providing services. This would only really affect Evo nodes. And this actually could be delivered in a minor version, so it could be delivered in 22.1. This is not a hard fork. The next thing, improved multi-threaded operations, mutex optimizations. I've been working a good bit on this, and I've made a lot of progress, especially during load on instance end. And this was a thing I was.
add?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You're cutting out a lot.
Are you able to hear me, Pasta?
That's better, yes. Okay. You want to go ahead, or shall I continue? All right. I'll let you cut in again in a minute and talk about.
It was encrypted voice.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been working a good bit on kind of mutex optimization. There are right, mutexes are really important for thread safety and making sure you're not clobbering stuff and creating deadlocks and stuff like that. But right now, there was a lot of contention over a couple of different mutexes, especially during high instance end load, and that is generally reducing the ability of the network to produce instance end at a very, very high load. So I've been testing this on testnet with 10 or 20 or 30 transactions per second, and been optimizing that. And I've basically reduced lock contention probably by over half, maybe even up to 2/3 now. So this is something I'm looking at and experimenting with and working on getting a lot better kind of threading optimization and removing a lot of this lock contention. Anytime you have lock contention, it just results in a lot of wasted CPU cycles. Maybe you do thread switching and caches get invalidated and different stuff that is really good to avoid if you want high performance. So figuring out ways to minimize this contention is really valuable, and I'm spending a good bit of time on that, and actually have good results so far. So hoping that bears valuable fruit in terms of actual instance and performance. But next big thing I want to talk about, extensible addresses in the deterministic master node list. This is also something that will be dipped very soon. This one is actually a breaking change. This would require a hard fork, and so it would have to wait till v23 at least. But this will allow for setting IPv6, onion, basically any address type that Dash Core supports. It will allow setting those in the ProReg TX. This is quite valuable. This will allow us to implement in the future maybe something like either mandatory IPv6 for master nodes or mandatory onion connectivity for master nodes. It opens up those as options, whereas right now that just is not technically possible. This is especially important as IPv6 becomes even more adopted and even more important to utilize. And this also would lay the groundwork if we decided it was important and valid enough to have domains in the ProReg TX so that you could do that. That's something that's a little concerning for different reasons, but this lays the foundation to be able to do that very easily if we want. And then the next major thing I want to talk about briefly is single member reg test quorum. We're doing some other stuff related to reg test and local networks right now, but basically the whole idea is to streamline and improve the local experience for reg test. Right now, if you want stuff like instance end, chain locks, you need at least, I think, 3 nodes. And the nodes aren't super heavy, maybe a couple 100 megabytes of RAM or so. But, if you have that on top of a lot of other services that platform is running, it can end up resulting in a lot of RAM usage and a lot of compute. And there's something that Ivan has been yelling at me about for probably months now, and really, really wants to see. So we're working on that, trying to really streamline and hopefully get it down where you only need 1 node on a local reg test, and you'll still be able to play around with stuff like instance end and chain locks. And obviously, it's only 1 node, but all of the same concepts would apply. So, semi disregard the chart in the bottom right. I think that is out of date. I don't think I was able to update that this week, but so there is probably additional progress there. But Sam, are you able to speak now, or is the decryption algorithm still failing?
I am not sure.
Okay, I was able to hear you.
Excellent. So yeah, I just wanted to say the benefit to Evo and platform, like from this this change. So most of the time when you send a state transition, it comes back really quickly, right? 2 to 5 seconds, you're gonna get your reply. But then there's sometimes you might send like a vote or something to the system, and it takes like 2 minutes. Why is that? Well, that's because we have some nodes that are just not responding on the system, right? That have never been activated. And what is going to happen with once we introduce proof of service is that those nodes will quickly go away. So the amount of nodes that will cause your state transition to take a long time will go down from about 10% to probably under 1%. So it's going to be a massive improvement for just like the overall user experience once we have that.
Yeah. Very briefly, there was some communication. I want to talk about it just super briefly. I worked with XKCD a little bit this week to do some very brief instance end stress testing on mainnet, and got some baseline data to be able to compare basically version 21 to the soon to be released version 22. I have more data that I want to talk about related to this, but again, I was very busy yesterday trying to figure out my computer situation and getting V22 out, that I wasn't able to kind of get all that together and be in a spot where it's really valuable to talk about it today. But I at least wanted to give shout outs to XKCD and say thank you for helping me out with doing that testing. We did get some interesting data that I want to talk about at some point, but I think that'll have to wait till probably the next review or something like that. So yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. As I see no questions in the live chat below, Sam, do you have any parting thoughts or anything anybody would like to share, discuss, or
no,
then?
not at all.
Yeah, it's a wrap. Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here with us, and see you in 2 weeks. Cheers.